And it's the wrong side, of course. Good morning, Bears. I'm the technological genius at work hard here. All right. Good morning. We are making drumming great again without a drum set here. What's all that about? So, let's see here. Let's get this in there here, video going. What did he just say? Then we're here we are in a video going. Because that makes sense. Thanks for being here. Always appreciate that. And congratulations, because this group has pushed us to the second month of all this stuff. We have now started a new month. Yes, we are. We got Steve. We got Andrew. This is good stuff. Yes, coming from my computer. There we go. Get that slightly better angle there. And I'm going to scoot back so you can see me more perfectly. See my gut a little bit better, because that's what's important. All right. So, as of today, it will be available. Hopefully during the stream, I can break in here and add this as I want to. Peoria Dogs, my beautiful lady's in here. You know what? We got to make her a moderator. Add moderator. You are now able to say anything you want, beautiful lady. Oh, she came to watch the show. That's pretty cool. Yeah, feel free to check out Peoria Dogs. It's a small growing YouTube channel as well. And she's trying to make little videos about stuff going on in this area. Yeah, she's a beautiful lady. So she's over dog sitting at a house of customers right now, the folks that are out of town. She's taking care of them. I'm back here with our dogs. And that's a joy, let me tell you. So I go to sleep in our bed last night, and we give each dog a turn, one after the other. And it was Gita's turn, and she's the slightly on the spectrum dog. So good morning, everybody. Everybody's just flowing in here. Kika, Mayor. That's awesome. We got Steve and Andrew, and then my beautiful lady bear is here as Peoria Dogs. So I'm going to bed in there last night. Gita's coming in for her night, and our kitten decides that she will sleep in there when everybody else is not there. That's her room. She's totally like right on the bed. The sunlight comes in the window at a perfect angle. She's just right there chilling. She loves it. So she thought she was going to snuggle up and sleep in there since the dogs weren't in there right away. Well, no, I brought Gita, the one who likes to fuss at the kitten more than anyone. And at first she was cool, because it's so weird. If kitten's walking through the house, then Gita feels compelled to bark at her and sort of chase after her, but it doesn't really ever hurt her too much. They'll like nibble on legs and things and try to wrestle, and Gita just wants to play. But it was strange. I'd go let the dogs out the backyard, and then Gita would often just lay on the porch and just watch and make sure that everybody's safe, everybody's okay, that they're still there. And Kitten will come out and sit right next to her, right? Just right on the porch next to her, and they're fine. They're like, yeah, we're gonna watch together. We're the watch pets, doing our thing. So Gita comes up in the bedroom, and Kitten's right there at the head of the bed. And at first she's cool, like, hey, I'm in here too. All right, this is fun. All of a sudden, the dog instinct takes over. I gotta bark at you. I gotta chase you, while I'm trying to lay down and relax. It's a joy. And then Kitten decides to hide under the bed. Right? Well, that's not working. Gita still knows she's there, so she's like, you can't lay down, just gotta be alert. Like, where's the kitten? I know, I'm gonna get it. Otherwise the world's gonna end tomorrow. It's gonna be insane, nuclear holocaust, because there's a kitten in the room. So she, come here, you, I'm talking about you. Come here, kitten. Well, ooh, that sounds like dogs fussing with each other. There you go. Yeah, you were a punk. So this one climbs out from under the bed, jumps up onto the bed right over Gita, and then up the wall. Like there's this little hole in the wall between our room and the laundry room. It's real weird. It's kind of like a spot where the laundry chute could have gone either way. You can divert it either way, but we pretty much try to divert it to where our washing machine and dryer are at. And she's like half up that wall, and he's like, I gotta bark at you, you're hanging on a wall, it's just not right, it's unnatural. What are you doing? Okay, never mind. She actually landed on all fours. I'm gonna make that clear. She's fine. Yeah, animals, getting along, not getting along, it's a joy. I can't wait until my beautiful lady is back to enjoy it with me. So, and beautiful lady, you can now enjoy the uniqueness of the chat in here because we have all kinds, and I love them dearly. So now you know. But, well, I guess you know. You've been in an episode before, so you know what's going on. At any rate, today is the first day of month 2. We have officially been at this a whole month, and this is wonderful. Today's episode I entitled Mad Guy and right? Because I'm going to be releasing the Big Drum Bear t-shirts starting today. I tweaked it out a little bit. I have to go no graphics at this point in time, just text, but it's still killer. But made it as inexpensive as possible. We got it in right under $20, and it makes a great gift. It's a great way to share with people what the channel's all about, and that'll be available in a link through Teespring. You don't buy it from me, you buy it from Teespring, and then because I set up the campaign and everything, I make a very small profit margin, but it's enough that I can take those and reinvest it and make more cool merch. I actually already went to Vistaprint, and I'm looking at a hat idea. I thought it'd be cool to have Make Drumming Great Again hats, or Make Drumming Great Again and Again and Again hats. Thought that would be a cool idea, to really mirror the Trump hat a little bit, but in a humorous way. Also, at one point it would be neat to have I don't want to emulate everybody too much. It'd be cool to sort of troll the Crowder mug in an admiring way, and maybe even the Shapiro tumbler. Mine won't be asbestos lined too much. I'm not Jewish, so I might not have that happening. I worship a Jewish king, so we'll see. Sometimes asbestos has got to come into play there when you're talking about beverage vessels. But other than that, and it won't be filled with shekels. You have to see Steve Pender for that. Once again, Gita is after seeing a kitten walk by the stairwell and has to freak the fudge out. Thank you, Andrew J. Yes, cat. Am I behind in this? No. All right, just checking. So at any rate, I'll have the link up in the description after this is done. And that campaign starts today. It'll run for 3 weeks. So here's the deal. I'm going for 50 is the goal, right? But we won't see any returns on it until we sell at least 11, right? So we got to get at least 11, and we want to shoot for 50 because the more we do, the more we can support that channel. And don't make it you, share the link, right? The biggest thing you can do is just share it on social media, share it in emails, share it with your friends, and tell them this is a shirt you want to have, and you want to definitely come and check this fun place out because it's fun, it's enjoyable. People who have been uplifted by the stream. You do hoard shekels, Steve. I have no doubts about that. I want you to notice that I have a guest that I didn't invite, this time. This is hilarious. I'm mindful to ensure that she doesn't end up on the computer keyboard, and I'm trying not to put my hands on it because as soon as I'm using it, that's when the cats want to lay on your computer keyboard. That's the time. Am I right? Yeah. That's usually how you guys throw down, right? Right? Oh, kitten. I'm telling you. What are you thinking? So, yes. So you were able to see in the dark last night. Did you see anything interesting happening around the house? Did you want to come on and be interviewed? What's the deal? Am I gonna have to call you Big Cat Bear? Is that gonna be your new screen name? What cat? Dang it! Don't ever call me a bear again. I know where you sleep. Yes, we did determine this the other day that a shekel, Andrew, is a little more than a quarter, and I find that hilarious. Excuse me, I didn't make the coffee yet this morning, so I've got a Jordan Peterson in my throat. It's not so good. At any rate, I was thinking of not doing guitar today. I was thinking of sharing something with you. Let me pull this out over here. No, it's not like Blazing Saddles. Excuse me while I whip this out. It's not that. That's not where I'm going here. Yeah, here we go. I've got too many stands for this. I wanted to bring in, once again, the good old dead air. Gotta love it. Let's see here. Got the big tall stand for it. It's like a stand-up stand. Stand up and play. This is a piece that I picked up a while back. This is a 1957 Ludwig, or actually I should say it's a William F. Ludwig, the WFL series, back when they just went by that. Legionnaire Parade snare drum. So it's like 10 inches deep, it's 14 inch across, and they originally went for like $40, 40 or 50 bucks I think it was. And you can order them from the catalog and all that kind of stuff. Nowadays, a piece like this is probably between $200 and $300. In the condition that it's in, maybe 150 to 200. Probably a little less, but I put nicer heads on it, so it's a little more up to date. Something that will last a little longer. It's got a great tone to it too. I'm going to have to show it to you. Where'd all my sticks go? I have a bunch. What am I talking about? Oh, there we go. Nice, deep, musical kind of sound. Really, really big drum. Most snare drums are about half this depth. They're not nearly this kind of size, and it's really thin too. So it gets that big, deep like. And I have it cranked, like it's tightened really, really high. I was looking for my drum key, but I think I took it with me yesterday. It's probably upstairs somewhere. I always keep at least one on my keys. So yeah, we're gonna have more interesting drum stuff like this. I'd like to get a video of showing you how someone could parade with this somewhere and maybe go out for a little hike in the morning or something. Taking this, but it'd be great to have somebody else having some other kind of instrument that they could use, and have maybe a percussion duo sort of thing, doing a neat routine. That'll be coming around a little more often. I'm working on integrating this into a song. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of a group called Fun. They have a song called Some Nights. And my beautiful lady bear, Miss Peoria Dogs, who's on here, she, I don't know if she's still here. She might have had to go walk dogs or get ready to. What was it now? She turned me on to this tune, Some Nights by Fun. And at the beginning of that, there's the video, the music video has this whole colonial thing. Oh, beautiful lady, there you are. It's got this whole colonial thing to it. There's this Civil War sort of theme going on in the video, and they're using drum sounds and things like that sound kind of like that older parade drum kind of feel, and it's really kind of neat. They've even got the guy playing one in the video, so really interesting. Not always my favorite band, but that one that kind of stopped me from it. Like, once in a while, a pop music thing will happen that's really neat. I thought it like stuff like say John Legend doing that All of You tune, just piano and voice, just those two, and making like top 10. You know, that song was extremely well written in a lot of ways. It wasn't really complex, but as pop music goes, it's probably one of those that definitely made me stop and appreciate it a little bit. And once in a while, there's an artist who will do that. Pink has had a tune or two that have done that, you know. So I can say there's a few pop artists here and there. Some Fun has done one. Yeah, John Legend, Pink. Some of those different folks have done some interesting things. So at any rate, yeah, man, this shirt doesn't help me look skinny mini, but that's good because it's the truth. I'm not. Watch me stretch it out. I was like, yeah, I'm good. It's always fun when you have a camera on you. Let's see here. Yeah, that's my beautiful lady. I forgot. I mentioned it at the top. Some of you guys got in here a little bit later. Yeah, she's a beautiful lady. And feel free to check out her YouTube channel for those that hadn't heard that yet. She's slowly trying to build that, and I want to encourage her to get some more cool content up in there. Let's see here now. So, Dom, I really appreciate his willingness to try and help me figure out how to get this one-button studio going. So, I apparently never got past step one. And the idea is I want to be able to share video and pictures and things with you from the stream. I'm still doing the stream today from the phone as opposed to from the laptop, and I'm just using the laptop to look at chat. But I thought I'd share just briefly where this process is at, getting this to happen. And I might have a workaround that at least will work slightly, because I do want to share a thing or two today on here. So here's this one button studio, at least what I got that said it was one button studio, and where it's at in the process. So I had plugged another drive in here and tried to say, yeah, that drive is my, that drive, well, I'll use this one right now. I've used thumb drives, I've used an external hard drive, I've tried different things. And watch it work right now. This will be hilarious. Watch it work and make me look like an idiot. It didn't work. Yeah, I probably did it wrong. Genius. So I got some things that are all tangled up over here. That's not what I wanted. Why are you coming over here? Let's see here. So we're going to show you how I'm. The volume splitter is not chosen by default. Yeah, I did that. So here we go. I'm going to plug in my external hard drive, and we're going to demonstrate how this thing is not doing what I need it to do. And it could be that my computer's just old, because it is. It's an '09. So we will see what transpires, what does not. Hey, cool. There it comes. You want to use, don't use. No, don't do that. I do want to do this. Okay, so pick that. Let's make a new folder. Let's see here. Oh, I'll just do this. There we go. So we're going to make this do what I want it to do, because if it doesn't, then so help me. Okay, so I did. I clicked on, I got that set up to be the default drive to put stuff, and this is the only screen I get. I can't get off this screen as of yet, and there's probably a really simple way to do that, but I had a tutorial that Dom sent me yesterday. It was very helpful because I mean, it's useful, I should put it that way, because it goes into the studio app and breaks down how you can set things up, and I figure once I'm in it, that will be useful. I'm not even in it yet, so we're not there yet. I'm sure it's a great app. It has not gone beyond this screen as of yet. No matter what I've clicked, I've gone up into the menus. I've looked for all kinds of stuff, and there's probably a thing I'm supposed to do that I'm not doing. As soon as I come back to the chat, watch. Dom's gonna be like, "Oh, you didn't do this, genius," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I didn't do that. You're absolutely right." Yeah, only one button. Oh, wow, I expected Dom to be right on that. He might be working though. He might be doing his thing, which is cool. Let's see here. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to bring up another YouTube window, and I'm just going to do this legit from right here. I'm going to turn down the volume on this video completely so that it doesn't interfere. And what I am going to do here is bring this up. I wanted to share something cool. So let's see now. One of my favorites. I don't know if you guys are familiar with, I know Norm. Owen's been talking about Norm Macdonald, right? Just the other day, was going back into talking about some more Norm stuff, especially his O.J. Simpson jokes and things like that. And he was talking about who he really likes. You know, comedian. Well, no, I was to say Norm was talking about that a while back, like comedians that make him laugh. And he's telling me about this guy, Brian Regan. Now, thankfully, a few years ago now, one of my buddies back at the airbase when I worked in security, he was introducing me to Brian Regan. And Regan's ridiculously funny. If anybody's heard of Brian Regan, yeah, right, Mayor? The OJ jokes were great. They were hilarious. Now, Norm says he laughs at a guy named Brian Regan. So I shared some of this with my kids, and they were dying. They were, I mean, my 9-year-old, he was cracking his head off. It was so funny. One of my favorites of all time is the Dora the Explorer bit. I love that. So I'm going to try to play this Dora the Explorer bit for you. And Brian Regan's a gas because he has this, like, he kind of plays things in the way Norm does. You know, he's like, I don't know what's going on, you know, playing to the audience. Because people, in general, as I find it, don't tend to be as comfortable around people that seem to act or think that they might be smarter than you are. You know, that generally you don't tend to like people that have an air of sounding like they're smarter than you. And smart comedians sound like they're morons. They just sound kind of like, and they come across kind of not that bright. And so Brian Regan sort of does that the way he talks, but you know he's smart. He just comes off a little more like, I'm just play this kind of dirt, you know. And it makes his voices even more funny because he probably talks like that fairly regularly. Norm Macdonald tends to talk the way he talks fairly regularly, you know. So he's not totally spoofing on you. It's just that they don't wear their intelligence on their sleeve constantly, you know. Wildly intelligent guys, and this fascinates me. You know, just absolutely incredible to see how they set this up. So I want to turn this one up. I don't want to turn the other one up. Yeah. That's what I want to not do. So great. Okay, here we go. 1 second. Yeah, Regan's hilarious. Here we go. See if we can make this big screen for you.
So I watch.
Hang on, I'm gonna rewind that once the computer cooperates.
So I watch a lot of Dora the Explorer.
There we go.
It's a good show.
There we go.
We have children now, so I watch.
Tell me if you can or can't hear that.
We have 2 beautiful kids, so I watch a lot of Dora the Explorer. It's a good show. I'd probably watch that if I didn't have kids. Dora the Explorer. First of all, did the producers think that rhymes? Dora the Explorer.
Sorry about the lag.
Maybe that rhymes in the Kennedy household. Put on Dora the Explorer. Other than there's a song then at the pitch meeting where it was approved. So did you get a chance to work on a song? Oh, yeah. Well, I remember now. Yeah, we're working on one. Don't worry about it. Why don't you go ahead and sing it for us then? Yeah, okay. Sure, if you want that now. All right, here we go. I'm the map, 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 I'm the map! I like that twist at the end. It is the map.
That's probably one of my favorite bits of all time. I mean, it's so ridiculous. It's so, and we'll go around. There was a part where the guys at the base and we'd go around singing that crap. You know, the kids and I would sing the map song over and over again, and just realize how hilarious that is. That actually made it into a show and was the song. The thing about Regan that's fascinating is that he works completely clean, right? Like, I mean, he might say hell and damn occasionally. That might pop in, but largely it's very, very like full family friendly, right? And that's the stuff that like comedians like Norm Macdonald are looking at. And they're like, that's incredible to me that he can be that funny as he can. And that's one of the middle of the road bits. It's still hilarious to me because I've enjoyed it for years. But he's got stuff that it leaves you in absolute stitches. So it's been one of my favorites for a long time. He's been one of my favorites. Yeah, yeah. Love the Brian Regan. You got to work on being more clean. Is that what you're saying, Mayor? If that is what you're saying, I got to tell you, I would be the same way. You know, you wouldn't get that here, but I've been in the military 17 years. From day one of basic training, I was around every form of profanity one could imagine. 24 hours a day. It's constant, yeah? So, yeah, I have plenty of moments of my own where I can let things rip, you know, certain words and things like that. And I'm not necessarily saying that it's always bad. I think that there's a time and a place where a good piece of foul language is appropriate because it communicates what you're specifically trying to. Also, I've met a lot of people who come from walks of life where that's the way they learned to speak. That was how people commonly spoke around there. Is it necessarily the most intelligent form of communication? No, but it doesn't really have to be. Neither is maybe what we would kind of call the hickish, you know, or farmer accent. Some people tend to call it white trash kind of accent. You know, people might have referred to it in that way, and I don't mean to offend anyone with that. Maybe I do, but not really. You know, it's not about being offensive. It's just giving it the names that it's been given at times, so that we know what we're talking about. That's kind of the important point. Yeah, there are times when how would I say that stuff may not have the same level of intellectual prowess to it in its usage, just like using profanity might. However, there are times where the usage of particular foul words accents a point quite appropriately, and in the right audience, I think that's fine. You know, like I have no real compunction against it. Like I enjoy Owen, right? I think he's hilarious. You know, do your thing, man. But even he says it's like there's audiences that I don't want to share that with. Like I'm trying not to, you know, just be totally foul-mouthed around my son. You know, he doesn't want a very impressionable child who's trying to develop and learn to pattern that way of speaking. You know, he wants his vocabulary to be much broader. You know, I've even told my kids, it's like, no, I'm going to encourage you not to use that kind of language, even though I have. Is that hypocritical? Not in the least, because I know that I have more of a struggle controlling that kind of thing now, since I spent so much time leaving it unbridled. I want you to have much more of a control over what you choose to say and when, so that you can be precise in your speech, that you can use words that fit the situation best, right? Hey, what's up here? Decided to make this shirt because I wanted to make a shirt I was proud to wear. It's something you want too. We're proud to what? I'm gonna have to check that out. Now I'm curious. Kick your made a shirt. Proud to be Americans. I like that. I like that. That's way cool. That's very cool. So I now have a competitor. No. Kick it out. That's awesome. I like that. That's really, really cool. Man, you got that done that well. That's impressive. That's really impressive. Awesome. And so you didn't do any back stuff. See, on mine I did do back. Um, Interesting. Okay, I like it. No, I might have to pick that up sometime. That's pretty darn cool. I like your T-shirt. Um, oh, you don't have the link yet? The link went to it there. I got it. I'm not sure what you meant. Um, hey, Mayor, get that rest, man. You know, absolutely rest that back. I understand that pain, definitely. But glad you could hang out for a little while, man. Take her easy and let us know that you're feeling better. Send us a message in the Hangouts or something later, or in the Unbearables. Um, oh, yes, I was mentioning that earlier. Thank you, I got that. As soon as this is over, link for my shirt will be up in the description of this video and every video of mine. I'm going to go through and just add it to all of them. So no matter where you're at, you can add, or you can pick up a link for shirts. Um, so yeah, let's see here now. And that'll run for 3 weeks. And we want to get to a minimum of 11 orders within 3 weeks. And then after that time, we will put the orders in, or the orders will go in, and the shirts will get to you by mid to late August. So in the future, I might do shorter runs, but it's the first time I've done a t-shirt run. Just wanted to sort of test it out and learn how to do this a little bit better. Make stuff that would be interesting and fun for you guys to wear. And I bet you, like I've told other people, there's plenty of people you'd like to impress with your cool little play on the Trump theme, or maybe you'd like to troll someone that is maybe a far leftist in your life. And maybe you'd like to confuse them, because it's a great tool for that as well. It's like make America, or make drumming great again and again and again. And so it's clearly like kind of playing off of the Trump thing. So they could be like, is he making fun of it? And then it says, "Do your best" on the back, which is one of my little slogans. And then it sounds like you're saying "do your best," but like you're a Russian or something. So maybe they're thinking that, like, is he suggesting Russian collusion, or she, you know, what's going on? Or are they saying there's no collusion? I don't know what they're doing. So you just leave people totally confused. It's a great shirt. You know, you can either start conversations or just infuriate people. And if you infuriate people, you can tell who the uber leftists are in your life, because if they get mad, there's really no reason to get mad, you know. Of course, if you get the red shirt, maybe they see red and it works like a bull in the bull ring or whatever the thing is, and they see red and they just freak out. It could be that kind of deal. So, bring joy all around you. Get the Big Drum Bear shirt today. And of course, you can share the joy of the Big Drum Bear YouTube channel and get people to check it out on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. It's so fun. For those of you who liked the little Instagram post last night, I appreciate that. We were we had actually been hanging out with my older boys and got them to a pool to hang out for a little bit. Friends, or customers actually invited the family to come and use their pool while Dawn's watching their dogs, and that was pretty cool of them. So brought the boys over there, and they got to swim. And oh, excuse me. After I brought them back over to their mom's, we had to go get dog food. I had fed them the last of their food that morning, and so we still needed to feed them that night. So spend a little time with my beautiful lady and go out to Menards and get some dog food. What better reason for an Instagram post, right? Obviously. Who's a leftist? Mr. Nick Town, welcome, sir. Glad to see you. No, you're not a leftist, I don't think. Steve, yeah, I'll definitely pop in there for sure, man. Yeah, who's the leftist that you're referring to, Mr. Nick Town? Please feel free to share. While he's doing that, I've talked a little bit about let's see, comedy that I enjoy. I wanted to mention, yeah, if you don't know about Brian Regan, I assume most of you do, check more of his stuff out. Maybe I'll put a link in today's video description later here. He's got a whole show. It's like a whole 50-minute thing, and I put some of that on for the kids. And this is a while ago, and they were just dying, falling over, laughing at this. And this guy's been doing stuff for he's been doing stuff for 30 years. He's been in the business, you know, but he's acting clean, right? It's so impressive, just so impressive that he can think through how to make a joke hilarious to people. And sometimes it's not always a home run, you know, but nobody is all the time. He had a bit that he talked about. I'm not going to play it now, but I'm going to encourage you. Maybe I'll put a link for that too. He talked about his worst experience ever, the worst bomb he ever had to deal with, and it's hilarious because he was actually hired to be like a spokesperson for a beer company that is no longer in business, and they had this dog as a mascot, and they were gonna have their mascot run for president, you know, during some election some time ago. And he thought, yeah, we need this dog, because the dog can't talk, to have a campaign manager who will talk for him, right? And talk about the dog. And his whole experience being in that capacity is so funny, so funny. And it's real. That's the best part. It's all real, you know. I suspect so. Anyway, maybe he dresses it up a little bit for the jokes, because comedians do that. But some comedians just flat out tell the truth, and it's funny. So I think you'd enjoy. At any rate, yeah, I like to be able to share some of the things that have been meaning something to me lately. Comedy has been really interesting, and I was talking with beautiful Lady Bear about this last night. This is an important point to me. So I've been, yes, yeah. We kind of figured you are a right wing nut job. Yeah, right. I can't even say that, right wing nut job. No, right wing nut job. There we go. I make my own comedy by not learning how to speak good. Yeah. And that wasn't making fun of people with mental disabilities in the least. It was making fun of myself not being able to speak well. At any rate, so I was talking to beautiful Lady Bear on the way to Menards last night about I'm going to not look at that while I tell this. I was talking to her about how grateful I am to have learned about cats like Crowder and Big Bear and Rogan, Dr. Peterson, Stefan Molyneux, all of these different kind of cats that are really good at articulating truth, but especially the comedic people, right? Like Crowder and excuse me, and Big Bear. And then Big Bear kind of illuminating to me a little bit of people like Norm Macdonald. The Norm stuff, like he's been talking about recently, that Norm was willing to tell the truth with his humor in a case where it was not going to be popular with the powers that be. And he's like, that's fine, that's cool, not even worried about it. Owen willing to stand up and say, yeah, I don't think 4-year-olds can be trans. That's no. I fully support if they want to do what they want to do when they're an adult. Great, do your thing. Remove whatever needs to be removed. Live how you decide to live. You should have the freedom to do that in this country. But not for kids, right? And he said that he was willing to double down on it and say, this is where I stand. I'll die on that hill. And I appreciate that a lot, because it's kind of like, to me, modern day examples of like the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, or their real names were Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. If you haven't read Daniel, and you've just heard like the old Sunday school story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you probably would know they had Hebrew names, right? Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were their Hebrew names. But when the nation was taken to Babylon and held captive in the nation of Babylon, some of these younger people like Daniel and these other three guys that were buddies of his, they um, they were taken to be in the king's court to be raised up to work within the king's court because it was seen that they were relatively intelligent, like, and they were well dispositioned, probably in decent physical health. So it was thought, well, these guys can serve the king better over here, not doing menial labor and stuff like that. So they were going to be raised up in all the knowledge and understanding of Babylon. All of the Babylonian educational system was going to be given to them to make them greater servants for the king. And so these guys were even having their names changed to reference Babylonian gods, right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are all references to Babylonian theological figures, I guess, or elements of that. So, and even Daniel, I think Daniel's name was changed to Belteshazzar. Was it Belteshazzar? I think it was. I get it confused because Nebuchadnezzar's grandson, as I understand it, who became king later toward the end of that book, his name was Belshazzar, I believe. And sometimes I switch it. I'm not sure if Daniel was Belshazzar or Belteshazzar, and the king was Belshazzar or Belteshazzar, I forget. But I'm pretty sure the king was Belshazzar, and Daniel was Belteshazzar. But again, I could be totally off on that. I'd have to go verify. Yeah, so they all got renamed with Babylonian names. They didn't even get their own original names. Like, that's how much they were integrated into Babylonian society. They were forced to leave behind their own names. Not as bad as what happened to the northern kingdom of Israel, where they got interbred with the Assyrians and lost their heritage, their national identity, and now later down the line, their descendants are called Samaritans. They're looked down upon by the Jews, all that kind of stuff. Not that bad, but still not good when you don't even have your own name, you know. So they still know who they are, though. They're very secure in their identity of who they truly are, and that's cool. So yeah, it's trying to backtrack where I was going with this. Those guys stood up to the king when King Nebuchadnezzar had this giant statue made and said, "Oh, when the music plays, everyone must bow down to this giant statue of me." And they're like, "No, we're not going to do it. You know, whether it be a giant statue or a chocolate bunny, you know, we're not going to do it." And that's a nod to the VeggieTales version of, you know, Shack, Rack, and Benny. For those who might remember VeggieTales, whether they want to or not. John Lennox wrote a book about Daniel and relates Daniel's time with today's relativism. That's totally appropriate. I'd probably enjoy that too, because John Lennox, that guy is just a beast. That guy sat down with Dawkins and hit him point for point. You know, at Oxford, the two of them had a discussion about the existence or non-existence of God. Really, really, really were the silly little pickles, silly little peas. Yes. Good old, you know what? There's a band around here by this little segue again. A band around here called the Original Skaz Band, and they actually have in their set list the song "His Cheeseburger," right? Mr. Lunch singing the song about his love for a cheeseburger, or yeah, I guess it was Larry's love for a cheeseburger, or was it Jimmy? Maybe it was one of the Gourds, Jimmy or Jerry, that loved a cheeseburger. I can't remember. Yes, yeah, that debate was fantastic. The original Skaz Band's version of the cheeseburger song is fantastic as well. At any rate, continuing on, I'm really grateful, and that's what I was trying to tell Beautiful Lady Bear last night, that I've had examples of people standing up against the mainstream, right? Dr. Peterson, his whole purpose for writing Maps of Meaning was, as he put it, like, go watch his interview at the Aspen Ideas Fest, and he's talking about that. He says, well, I'll let him say it. You know what? I'm going to let him say it. Let's just bring up Aspen Ideas Fest. This is great. Because he says it better than me. And we need some Kermit in here right now. Let's see here.
And I could hardly speak. And
Let's see
then I
here.
learned to only say things that didn't make me feel weak. And then
Let's
I
see
decided
here.
that's what I was going to do. So I've been careful with what I've been saying for a long time. But
Um,
I'm having a hard time with what you're saying.
let's see here. Let me scoot back. Yeah, it's a little tough because I'm live streaming, plus I'm trying to be doing video.
My university,
Step back.
what the opposite was.
Yeah.
Imagine that they would be Schindler. And what happened
Let's
in
see.
the Gulag Archipelago.
There we go.
And a lot more time reading, and I was interested in solving a problem, which was I was interested in the great atrocities of the 20th century, the ones that were committed on the right and the ones that were committed on the left, but I was interested in them psychologically. And what that meant was, had I been there, what could have I done to not participate? And so that's what I've been trying to figure out. How? So, because for me, what happened in Nazi Germany and what happened in the Gulag Archipelago and in Maoist China, many places, was sufficient definition of hell. Convincing as well. And I wanted to understand what the opposite of that was. And not sociologically or politically or economically, because I think that in the final analysis, those levels of explanation are insufficient. But psychologically, how is it that you must conduct yourself in the world so that if the opportunity to participate in such things arises, you won't? And, you know, when the Holocaust museums went up, there was a motto that went along with them, which was never forget. And I thought, yeah, fair enough, but you can't remember what you don't understand. And so I wanted to understand it, but I wanted to understand.
So that's fascinating to me. That I mean, he talks later on in there too about how he wrote each sentence in that book 50 times before he had it finalized, and it's working 3 hours a day for 15 years on average was his tendency for that. And when he says that, that's I mean that I can't even fathom that level of dedication, that level of discipline to think on an idea, to research it and dig in depth. That's absolutely incredible to me. And yet the fact that he's done it, that stands as an example to say it can be done. You can do this, right? And this is a guy who you know came from a small logging town in Canada, you know, and used to go hang out at the bars and get wasted, you know. He didn't come from like the most pristine background and he always was like this. Like he had to develop it. He had to build to that over time. So it's encouraging because it suggests to me that I can increase in my own discipline, my own focus as I go forward, and that I could also continue to be emboldened to say what I know to be right, even when it's not popular, even when I may be attacked mercilessly for it, even unto death. Who knows? If it needs to be said. At the same time, I'm also learning like when it's worth the battle and when it's not, because there's obviously a bigger picture to all of that. You don't just go out and be an idiot all the time and just say, I'm gonna say true stuff. I'm gonna get in liberals' faces and go blah 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 blah. It's like that's not necessarily useful either. You want to pick and choose the times that are going to be most fruitful to speak the truth, right? Because you want it to have maximum impact. It's like learning a martial art. You think back to like old Mr. Miyagi, and I know it's a movie, but I've met plenty of martial arts teachers who would teach this way too. You want to be good at martial arts, don't go looking for a fight, right? That's rule one. You fight when you absolutely need to, but you try to be smarter than the people that want to fight with you and look for an opportunity to not do that. Why expend the resources unnecessarily? If the occasion arises and you absolutely need to respond, then respond. And don't relent until you have fully responded, right? But and I'm not fully there yet, right? But I'm getting closer to that, and I know it's it's interesting to me that a lot of that strength, that how would I say, yeah, that character strength building, that encouragement, boom, that emboldening to stand up in the face of truth has come by way of comedians, right? And by also a Canadian psychology professor, right? Willing to do that. Huh? What? Yeah, that's what the case has been here. Characters you wouldn't necessarily think are like the ones to stand up in that heroic role, but it's more than just like heroic in those immediate senses where they were willing to stand for things and say truth even when they would have negative impact or consequence. They set the tone and the example, like this is what you should aspire to, right? And they're consistent on shooting for that. Doesn't mean they're 100%. They're humans and they fail, right? They have mistakes, but they shoot for that continually, right? So um, a lesson was taught to me a long time ago to spend time around the people you want to be like, right? Make the people that influence you the people you want to be influenced by, right? Make people that you that you whoever it is you want to be around people who are like that, right? Find people to mentor you toward that way. Now, there are plenty of people that I've met in actual face-to-face real life, but there've always been people from afar, that I've been mentored by, indirectly, and it's really really neat, and that's encouraged me to want to be that same figure for other people as a music educator, privately and then online, all that kind of stuff, so that I have the opportunity to encourage them to keep moving forward, even in the midst of my own personal failings within that growth, right? Like, I'm not perfect and don't have it all together. I have the camera pointed this way for a reason, right? I don't want to show you the rest of my basement. It's not organized well. It's a bit of a mess. But and this isn't all wonderfully pristine either. I don't have this great studio, but I'm going to do what I can while I can, right? I'm where I'm at with it, and I'm going to continue to step forward and try to make things better, make things more interesting and enjoyable for viewers. Yeah, yes, I caught what you meant. Keeping the sword sheathed is correct. Yes, it's important on many levels. I think that's a wise thing, at least until you're married. But aside from that, I know that's not necessarily where you were going, Sovereign Bear, but I'm sure sooner or later somebody in here would have, so I might as well beat them to the punch. I just thought that was a useful, worthwhile thing to share today, that I've been deeply encouraged by comedians and other people who are willing to stand up and speak, and tell the truth about things, like passionately, because I've had plenty of opportunities in my life to stand up and tell the truth about certain things, and I failed in a number of them. I chose otherwise at moments, and I've looked back on that like, man, I wish I'd done better with that. It kind of stinks, I regret that, or I regret that. Like, I want to not do that again. I want to get better at just standing up and being a more dependable, more reputable person. So when I see people that are doing it, I think too about, like, what's the worst circumstances I could be in? What if I'm in a position where, it's kind of like a Nazi Germany or Soviet Union kind of situation, and what kind of example am I going to set for my kids in the face of horrible stuff? Pray to God that doesn't befall us in our lifetime, but I'm not so arrogant to assume that it wouldn't. Dr. Chuck Missler used to say that all the time, like, what makes us so arrogant to think that we won't experience what most of the rest of the body of Christ has experienced for the last 1900 years? It's entirely likely that there will be persecution in our lifetimes in some negative way. Many Christian groups around the world experience that. I'm not even just talking about Christians. I'm talking about people who have an ideal of individual freedoms, right, being paramount. That that will come more under fire. That the likelihood is that will be the case. Now, the trick here is, though, not to wring your hands and freak out in the meantime, and not to just assume that's necessarily the case. You also have to live as if the possibility exists that won't happen, right? Otherwise, you won't live. And I don't want to not live. I want to live, and I want to encourage others to live and communicate, right? To be able to share ideas. Race, religion, money, sex, those are not the things that I think truly separate people. I think they're excuses for why people are truly separated. And I think I might be quoting Owen a little bit, but I'm not trying to. I'm trying to say because I know that that's the case. Language, the ability to communicate effectively, the ability to convey your thoughts and express your thoughts to someone else, and they get it, right? And then for them to be able to do the same to you. That is that is where people have trouble, where they separate, because when they feel like one person is communicating in such a way that is totally foreign from them, they just don't get it, or they now have a sense of fear, or whatever it is. Animals, right? Animals will communicate to us. They'll try to get a message to us at times, especially like wild animals, like, back off, leave me alone, I'm uncomfortable with this. And if you learn to read their communications, you can respond appropriately. Maybe you can avoid a conflict. I'm getting ready to go up to Alaska with the Air Guard, so I'm gonna spend some time up there, and it's been talked about often that there's a lot of bears in Alaska. I don't know how many bears there actually are. Bear to human ratio, I don't know if that is. When I go up there, there'll be one more. So, heck yeah. Do you think, Kodiak? Let's see here. And glad you're here, by the way. You too, Sovereign. All you guys, glad for coming in. Let's see, did I miss anybody? Did I not say, hey, welcome? I said Nick, and he's here. At any rate, so when I go up there, one of the things my wife had done, because she'd been up there years ago, she got to go to Denali National Park, right? Really, really cool place. And she said she went out for a big hike. I'm gonna tell your story, beautiful Lady Bear, just a little bit here. She went out on this hike through woods for some hours, and then at one point she comes back. She's heading back toward where she originally started from, and she can see her footprints from earlier. She was in a particular area where her footprints would have been left, vividly enough, and she can see bear footprints right on top of her footprints. So after she passed that area, a bear had been right there. She never got too close to one, and I think we watched some videos on that I think the statistics are like somewhere, like one in some, like a million, 1 point something million, I can't remember what it is. It's a big number. High ratio of, what is it, like people to, how would I say that, like, the number of bear attacks happening is I should say it's a really low probability. That's how I should phrase that. So, that being said, how do you prepare if it's going to happen? And you try to read bear communication. There's this one thing that bears will sometimes do called a bluff charge, because they want to see if you're going to run, and if you do run, they're going to have that instinct to chase you. They're going to have to do it. Also, they can climb trees like a son of a gun, like super fast. I understand that they've been known to steal picnic baskets with ferocious speed. Ferocious. It's insane. But what they tend to do at first is this bluff charge thing to see what you're going to do. So don't run. Stand your ground, right? You have to read that communication as a test on you, and to face it appropriately. If you do it wrong, you read that communication wrong, you're gonna trigger the bear. No, we may be leftist bears. Trigger the bear to follow that natural instinct of chasing you. You don't want to do that, because if they get you, you're probably gonna be lunch, or at least you're gonna be nibbled on, or scratched up decently, and none of those are good ideas. Hey, Kodiak. Oh, you left and came back. So some people in here are getting my picnic basket reference. I appreciate that. Excuse me. I thought Pretty Lady might enjoy that too. She's a big Hanna-Barbera fan. Well, cartoons in general. Yes, we have Saturday morning cartoons happen in our home. It still happens, whether the kids are there or not. Um, and the Looney Tunes are probably at the top of that list. Um, Nothing wrong with a little nibble. Yeah, as long as it doesn't like take a chunk of flesh along with it. And if you're cool with that, Keek, yeah, we need to have talk. Um, Hold on now. I, see, I do this. I'm seeing your chats and I'm going like that. I should be like that. I don't know. It's funny to me. Anyway, uh, I'm one of the greatest comedians to myself, right? It's not an accolade. At any rate, um, so yeah, if you learn to pay attention to communication, right? If you learn to try, if you try to learn how somebody else is communicating, what their tendencies are, you can avoid conflict unnecessarily. Save dealing with conflict for when it's absolutely required, right? Because it's usually far less required than it is engaged in, right? See if we can minimize conflicts, right? I think that's worthwhile. Um, Now, if you're a guy like Steve Crowder, then it's necessary to confront, right? And that is some conflict because people have already started it and threatened violence. So, by the way, if you haven't seen that, I just caught that last night. Oh my gosh, I was dying. That reporter actually called him up and had gotten a hold of their studio finally, and or that I think they'd called back because they heard that she was trying to call CRTV and not or really get in touch with him. But yeah, they finally talked, and oh, excuse me, recorded that whole conversation. And it was amazing. It was like he was if I could see you could see his face and the rest of the guys in there, Edward the sound guy, Nage Jared. It's like they were pulling teeth the whole time having that conversation, like making their points as clearly spoken out as they could. I had to hand it to Stephen because he went several times over the same point, and I get his frustration. Right? It's like I almost wish he'd said, it's like, okay, it's appropriate that I would experience a little frustration here, you know. And you know, I don't necessarily need to apologize that, but he was gracious enough to say, okay, it's fair. I don't necessarily need to be raising my voice and getting nasty with you, but I'm trying desperately to communicate effectively to you, and like I'm saying something very straightforwardly, and I don't know that you're understanding what I'm saying. But he went above and beyond to try and communicate well. It really, really did. And then I love how at the end of that whole bit, I'll let you find out what happens, but he ends that so well. I think you'll enjoy that. Yeah. Kiki, spoiler alert. She dropped it. Yes. That was exactly how that went down. Oh my gosh. So good. Go watch that latest Crowder Confronts. It was so well done. I appreciated that. But that's a good closer to everything I'm talking about today. I am so grateful to these different people that I have had the blessing to be introduced to in my life that have emboldened me to stand up. And I hope that if I'm ever in a situation as extreme or even marginally a fraction of the extremes of something like being in former Soviet Union, that I would be willing to stand up and speak the truth, right? Scary stuff, but I hope and pray that I would have the constitution to not participate by action or by silence, which is still an action, to allow things like that to go on. So yeah, get emboldened, get emblazoned, right? And another part of that Aspen Ideas Fest, the very first part of that, I shared that with my boys last night. Dr. Peterson talks about how excited he was to see this change in technology, right? We've got YouTube, we've got podcasts, we've got all this kind of stuff now, and it's made the spoken word have as much reach as the written word, if not more, right? You can immediately have an audience with people all over the world with the spoken word. It's like what he would call like a Gutenberg revolution in that way. Once the Gutenberg press was out, you know, books no longer stayed just in the hands of those who had the power to have books developed and such like that. You know, it's like it quickly became a commodity where the average individual could have access to the written word. But now we have that with the spoken word. Radio was beginning that, but the bandwidth limitations were a huge factor. You could only have so much, and your little snippets, you had to have commercials, all that kind of stuff, and that's still the case with a lot of radio. I'm sure there's satellite radio stations and stuff that go longer form. Or, you know, once they started having like books on tape, you know, tape still had its limitations because you only had so much you could put on a side. CDs were even better because you could have more hours. But now I can sit and listen to the Gulag Archipelago on YouTube, right? And it's like 11 hours, 40 minutes for one segment of that, right? There's 7 segments to it. Yeah, that's 7. And one is 11 hours, 40 minutes. And I'm just digging into the first volume, right? So, and it was all on cassette tapes, but now they can compact it and contain it in one spot, and I can drink it in at my speed. And while I do other stuff, I can put a headphone in one ear, put it in a pocket, do other activities that I need to get done, and now I can add education to my day while completing other tasks. Like I can multitask with someone talking in my ear. I won't necessarily retain everything, but I'll retain a good part of it, and I can go back over that stuff as well. You know, I would do the same thing if I was reading. I'd probably have to read 2 or 3 times, you know, to really retain what I was getting there and get the full amount out of it. But man, it's just exciting. You have the ability to get smarter, to get stronger, mentally, physically, spiritually, every day. Do it. And enjoy comedians. It's not just for laughs. It's not just to relax. It is that. That's creepy. I don't know who just knocked on my pipes. But, all right then. That might be my beautiful lady bear stopping by. At any rate, I'm going to find out who the heck's outside my house. And you bears have a great day. It's probably my wife. I love you guys. Peace. Be strong. Love, bears. I'll have the t-shirt link up for you later. Love you guys.